glad to see you and greet you here at the briefing discussing the draft law number 3822, introducing quota for Ukrainian content on radio stations as an issue of national security and identity of Ukraine. You know that for several months the general public and musical community has been discussing the question of quota for Ukrainian content on radio stations. We are talking specifically about the draft law number 3822. According to the last version, the quota is supposed to be 35%. Our goal today is to demonstrate that this draft law was initiated not only by the lawmakers but also by the wide number of Ukrainian musicians and public figures and members of general public who would like to listen to Ukrainian songs, Ukrainian content. We will talk today with Sergiy Vysotskyi and MP Sergiy Osnach, co-developer of the draft law, representative of working group for improvement of the draft law, Michał Kamiński, MP of the Sejm of the Republic of Poland, Vadym Krasnookyi, frontman of the band The Heads, Sergiy Mikhailuk, Sergiy Vasyliuk, Victoria Polchenko, senior editor of Radio Promin, and Tetyana Shamshetdinova, art director of recording studio Kofein. Good morning. Thank you for invitation here. First, I would like to say a few words about the prospects of this version of the draft law. At the committee, it has passed all the procedures as required, and the discussion was very intensive. There were no persons who would oppose such Ukrainian quotas on the radio broadcasting. There were representatives from Vysotskyi movement, and we reached compromise and agreed on very many items. Although there were comments on the musical industry as concerning the procedure, I am sure it will pass the first reading in the parliamentary session room, and then we will step by step introduce these quotas. As for me, quota matter. When I wrote about it in Facebook, at the parliament, our faction, our interfactional association, NASTOP, Oleg Medunitsa was one of the co-authors of this draft law. We have some people who systemically address the matter of Russian aggression as a component of hybrid war, which is also present in the cultural policy when I was writing about our interfactional group activities. So introduction of some bans on Russian content, someone responded that what did you do, to introduce Ukrainian products, you just only ban Russian products. I was surprised many people understood these quotas as banning Russian products, but this is not so. This is promotion of Ukrainian products in the context of dominating Russian media networks and Russian capital, Russian funds. You know, the capital of Russia is huge in Ukrainian key TV channels. So when we suffer lack of competition on TV and radio broadcasting, this is the policy of Russian Federation to allocate millions of dollars to promote Russian content which would promote Russian world in the culture, in the history on TV and radio broadcasting. We can't promote then Ukrainian products in some other way. We can only promote it this way by the quotas. So that people, general public, can listen to high standard Ukrainian songs, Ukrainian music, Ukrainian books, and quotas is a promotion tool, not banning tool, and I hope we will have enough political will to introduce these tools. We also draft some other bills on state support to, for example, book printing and protecting Ukrainian market from aggressive content. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Sergiy. Let's pass to the draft law itself. Sergiy Osnach, you are given the floor. Please. Mr. Osnach will tell us what is the situation, what is the status of the draft law now, and what the community may expect. I would start with our work in the working group on refining this law, draft law, about quotas authored by Kirilenko, but in fact this initiative is supported by the musical community and general public, the representatives of radio industry. They demonstrated they didn't want to broadcast Ukrainian music. We can't broadcast all day long the song The Night is in the Moonlight, and they responded to our proposals in a very hostile manner. So radio industry representatives worked in an unconstructive manner. We tried to reach compromise. We decided, we offered to decrease the quota to 35% and to step-by-step introduction of this quota. But broadcasting industry did not agree even to this proposal. That is why the alternative draft law was submitted on 25th of May to Верховна Rada, which is initiated by the broadcast industry. Here you can see the list of MPs who did not support our draft law as submitted. Among them, on this list, we can see even those MPs who primarily agreed to our draft law. This means that they don't want this draft law to be passed, to be adopted. You can see this list on the Верховна Rada website, and here you can see the names of the authors of alternative draft law, which absolutely level up all the community security requirements and all our requirements at all. Why? What we required? We required that no radio stations enjoy any preferences either by niche principle, format principle, or any other principle. Those exclusions concerning format, they nivellate the law because the format of the song cannot be identified clearly at once. So, quota of Ukrainian music may be bypassed when format principle is used. For example, the broadcaster may say that the song refers to the category of reggae, for example. I am also a member of one of the commissions, and I can tell you that they are rather biased ones. So we put requirements that the quota should be uniform and it should be equally distributed along the daytime. For example, these days they broadcast Ukrainian content at the night time. Or anyway in the not in the prime time, and the prime time is full of Russian content. Now I would like to pass to the topic of this press news conference. Why general public seeks higher content of Ukrainian songs at the radio broadcasting. You can see results of monitoring on public opinion. The first was conducted by Stanislav Sedlov, the volunteer. It is titled Freedom Space. 40% of Russian songs are present in the broadcasting, and only about 5% of Ukrainians. This is 8 times difference. If we will look at the national and language composition of our population, there are almost 78% of Ukrainians among our population, and Ukrainian speaking population comprises 45%. We can see how media influence this situation when Ukrainians who believe Ukrainian language is not believed to be native, or and at the same time Ukrainians do not speak Ukrainian. So the portion of Ukrainians speaking Ukrainian at home is falling. So in the context of competition of two languages, with time that language would win, which is more represented in the media, but not the language which native speakers are present at some territory. So any social language specialist would confirm the transfer to the alien language one of the final steps to abandoning the language. Here you can see the picture how the language influences perception of the Russian propaganda. You can see that index of performance of Russian propaganda on Ukrainian speaking persons is 15%, for Russian-speaking persons 38%, for bilingual persons 27%. Those who are Russian-speaking, they better perceive Russian propaganda because they better can congest this Russian content. The last thing is what we propose in our draft law. 35% quota for Ukrainian content and 50% for national audiovisual products. This is products produced in Ukraine, and the alternative draft law proposes exclusions for all popular genres, as if Ukraine lacks some products of some classes, but this is impossible. Classic and folk music is abundant in Ukraine, so this is incredible to decrease and to plan decrease of Ukrainian language quota if radio station broadcast new songs. So any radio station can then broadcast only 10% of national Ukrainian products. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Sergiy. And now we would like to hear the other side, the person whose country has already introduced the quota on national content at broadcast.
Slava?
You're given the floor. Good afternoon. I will speak Russian, unfortunately. I like Ukrainian music, and I authored the draft law like this in Poland. We adopted the same law in Poland that provides a right for 30% of Polish music in all radio broadcast in Poland, and this law was successful, and there are some radio stations that broadcast Polish music, no other music, and I would like to say that this draft law that is discussed in Ukraine, it corresponds to European approach to national music. For 10 years I was the European deputy. I worked in the sphere of culture in the European Parliament, and I want to say that such countries as France, Germany, and Spain, these countries, they support their national culture and music, and also it corresponds to European approach of support of national culture in Europe. And I would like to say, as the deputy of Polish Sejm, that the man who works in Poland on these issues, I fully support your draft law. It is European, Ukrainian, and it means it is European because I believe that Ukraine is Europe, and I support your way to Europe. And I believe that the moment will come then Ukraine will be the member of the European Union, and you shouldn't stop, you should continue with this draft law because it corresponds to European approach to these issues, and I hope that when I come to Ukraine next time, I will hear Ukrainian songs that I love so much, that I would hear in radio stations that are in your wonderful country. Thank you. Thank you. As we know, as of today, more than 260 performers expressed their position in support of this draft law, and Sergiy Vysotskyi today will tell us about the opinion of Ukrainian music community. Good afternoon, dear friends. Firstly, I'm very glad that we have a lot of people today here, and I hope that many people watch us online, and we should ask questions and we should outline the main problems here. I agree with what was said before. The main idea I wanted to add is that our initiative should be supported by Ukrainian performers. Firstly, Oleg Skripka, Ruslana, and of course Svyatoslav Vakarchuk. The matter is, these people expressed their patriotism and their civil position. These are people that are popular, that are respected, and they repeatedly took part in the events to support Ukraine, and they sing in Ukrainian songs, and they form the Ukrainian content. That's why these people should have the lists of those performers who support our initiative, and in this case, this project will develop. And we as Ukrainian performers, we want to show that we try to support these ideas. So, of course, if you don't want to listen to Ukrainian rock, you can listen to Lama, to Elza, you can listen to Gaetana, Jamala, or Natalia Karpa. I grew up on Skryabin, Irina Bilyk, Alexander Ponomaryov, and Tanok na Maidani Konga, and Okean Elza. I want this to continue, and in the times when Ukraine goes to Europe, and it should go away from Kuchmisms, and I like the idea that we should protect our national identity. Many people speak about nationalism and nationalists. We shouldn't use this word. We should speak about national identity instead. In Europe, where we feel as in our own family, there are only 3 countries where there are problems with national language. This are Ireland, Belarus, and Ukraine. So this is all. And all the issues of 2-language countries, or for example, you know that in Switzerland that are cantons where they speak some dialects of German, but these are the dialects, and there are some other languages used there. So in Belgium, the same thing. There are Flamands and Wallons, and they speak their languages, so there are no problems with this. So if we want to be in Europe, there shouldn't be any questions there is support of liberal values in Europe, and also they always support national identity. Thank you, Sergey. And one more representative of music community joined us, of Vadym Krasnookyi. Good afternoon. Could you tell us your ideas on this? I didn't waste my time. I was listening to some radio broadcasts, and you see, real situation corresponds to the data you presented here. From 13 songs I heard, 7 were of Russian origin, 6 were in English, and 1 was in Ukrainian language. And other stations broadcasted some advertisement, and 4 were presented information in Russian, and only 2 in Ukrainian. So we have problems in the sphere. All the broadcasts of advertisement and presenters should speak Ukrainian. We are here in the capital of Ukraine, in Kiev, and I couldn't understand in what country I am. So this is a very simple impression. And here we see our future that starts, and we should discuss this. And it is a good idea that these draft laws appear. I don't believe that they will be adopted soon or they will be introduced. But we should join and support this. And it's not only about draft laws. Speaking about famous and not so famous performers, about Vakarchuk, who said that we shouldn't introduce special quotas for Ukrainian songs. I respect him a lot because he did a lot positive things he done for Ukraine, but in this case, he does not understand the problem because he has not opportunity to monitor the broadcasting, but of course, that should be taken into account, and about Mad Heads gang. So we are broadcasted, and I can say that in Russian radio of Ukraine, where they didn't present any Ukrainian songs, there were 2 Mad Heads songs, 2 super new songs of Mad Heads in Ukrainian. One of them is called I Am at the Seaside, and I believe that it is important for all of us, and also it is very important for young performers I want to address. And this is the matter of our own hands. We should pressure politicians and demand them to adopt this law, and we should monitor that they introduce that law, and we should inform the broadcasters that we want to hear songs in Ukrainian, and we should inform them what we want. Thank you very much, Vadym. And about young performers, I would like to inform you that on the 31st of May, young performers want to conduct a march to counteract oppression of Ukrainian song and to support the draft law. And there are radio stations that present Ukrainian music, that support Ukrainian music and work with Ukrainian musicians, and it is really great. And here we have chief editor of radio Promin, Polchenko. You know that in 2010, remember, these were the times when Russian language was present everywhere and Ukrainian music was rarely heard. And in 2010, in Yanukovych's time, we decided to, at our meeting, we decided to identify the way we are going to, and we find a niche. In 2010, the radio stations that presented Ukrainian music. These were local radio stations, and they were afloat, and I understood that my child grows up, and my child listens to the music, to Ukrainian music, and when my child will grow up, my child will turn on the radio and couldn't be able to listen this music, because those children who now study at school and who are in kindergartens, they should have the content. So this is the Napoleon plans, but starting from 2010, we established a goal of 35%. We decided to make 95%. Some people said this is impossible, and I heard it from many heads of Ukrainian radio stations. How can lounge music can be Ukrainian, but you can listen it in the clubs, and at the moment, for the 35%, it's enough. And radio, Promin radio station, we have 100% of this content, and in the nearest future, I believe that I don't know how this radio Promin will be called. Maybe our title will stay, but we should present Ukrainian music for the youth, and we believe that progressive youth should hear to this music. So some people say that we have some shows, some broadcasts, and we invite some Ukrainian musicians. There is a program, Ukrainian album, and we can imagine that we have a lot of discs. We have these discs, and we invite those musicians, we listen to the songs, and we will tell people about these people. And some experts say that you know that Beyonce sleeps on the pillows like this, but you do not know about some personal things about Ukrainian singers. And we do not know what happens with our singers at household level. So they say maybe we will present some non-format music. Okay, do this, make some programs on this, make some jingle play lists should be established, and the listener should get accustomed that at every 15 minutes they will have some formal songs, and they will wait for the songs, because this will be not ordinary, and that will be interesting. Of course, this is all possible, and I believe, and my experience shows, 6 years, I can tell you that Ukrainian music radio station can exist, and Galiciana FM and radio, they work, and there are many programs on the internet. But our main problem, I believe that I feel like Ukrainian musician Promin radio station, if we would go by car in Kiev, we couldn't hear these songs, but then in the car there is no such radio station. This is the lowest low frequency wave, so we don't have this in the car, so we can listen it only through the internet, and we are in the internet, not on the radio. So, and the National Council on TV and Radio Broadcast should review some requirements to rebuilding of the network of FM, and will provide some waves for not 63.5 but are there waves that can be provided to Ukrainian performers to hear their music? Sometimes they say that Ukrainian quality content is lacking, but here we have art director of the studio Kofein, Tetyana Shamshetdinova, and do Ukrainian performers create quality content? Thank you.
Good morning. Many stories were told about yesterday. What we mean under the term high quality? If we are talking about technical quality, I took with me 10 discs of various years of production. They were produced mostly by our studio, but 1/20 of Ukrainian language discs have high quality because we can take Sisters Stelnyuk. They were this disc was produced by the other studio, but it is very high quality, so technical quality matter is not in question for a long time already. As concerns some preferences, we can build them so that people like Ukrainian music. Here you can see at our photo, I believe that Ukrainian society will support such young girl so that Ukrainian song is supported. And Sashko Polchenko is a composer creating good Ukrainian songs. I have his disc on me. This disc is titled Slowly. 17 Ukrainian songs. They are very good songs. If you don't have such disc, I can present it to you. And if you and he would hear that an Ukrainian FM broadcasting, he is broadcast, so he would proceed investing his money into FM broadcast stations. Musicians have been investing in broadcast stations, and they would proceed doing so if they are broadcast. One competition we conducted several years ago, we invited Ukrainian songs composed by Ukrainians in any language. This competition is now ongoing. We have selected 3 songs. There were many very good and vivid songs. So technical quality, we don't have questions to it. It is unquestionable. It is good. As concerned content, there are vivid songs. This is the matter of willing to promote Ukrainian language song. And small comment. I have just come from Canada, where I talked to people who have been living there for all their life, and they told that they listened to Ukrainian singers, and they said that as compared to Canadian performers, Ukrainian performers sound very well. Yes, we have been told so many times that we sound in a bad way, then we have mastered to produce very good sound. I hope that the position is rather clear and understandable. So here, at this point, we finalize our discussion. We can go now off to the lounge because we should stop at this.